Welcome to this video about how to put your entitled support in place for the disabled student's allowance. This video covers what a DSA 2 entitlement letter is and how to put your entitled DSA support in place using this letter. So once you have attended your study needs assessment, you will receive a DSA 2 entitlement letter within around 10 working days of the funding body receiving your study needs assessment report. Your DSA 2 entitlement letter will tell you what support and/or equipment you are entitled to from DSA, who the suppliers of the support and/or equipment are, and how to access this support and/or equipment. This letter will be split into different sections. You may see all of these sections or only some, and this is dependent on what type of support you are entitled to. So these sections cover Specialist Equipment Allowance, Non-Medical Helper Allowance, General Allowance, and Travel Allowance. We will now look at each of these sections individually. If you are entitled to specialist equipment, for each item of support, your DSA 2 entitlement letter will say the following: the item details, who the supplier of the equipment is, the contact details of the supplier, your individual quote number, the amount that you will pay the supplier. This may be £200 if you are contributing towards the cost of a laptop, and the amount that the funding body will pay the supplier. To access this specialist equipment, you should contact the supplier using their contact details to let them know that you would like to access your equipment and organise the £200 laptop contribution if required. You will need to provide them with your quote number and a copy of your DSA 2 entitlement letter. The supplier will then arrange the delivery of your equipment. Your equipment includes insurance. As soon as you receive your equipment, you must familiarise yourself with the terms and conditions of this insurance. Do note that the university offers support to some students who are asked to pay £200 towards the cost of a laptop. The support comes from the Hardship Fund, which is administered by the university's Student Finance Office. You can contact this team at studentfinancialsupport@hud.ac.uk or ask your disability advisor for more information about the fund, whether you would qualify for support and how to apply. Next, if you have been recommended specialist ergonomic equipment, you will have a separate assessment from your initial study needs assessment. Then a separate report will be sent to the funding body, and you will receive an updated DSA 2 entitlement letter with details on how to access this specialist ergonomic equipment. Next, if you are entitled to non-medical helper support, you will see the following for each item of support: the item details, such as a support worker. This may also include training for assistive software if applicable, who the supplier is, the contact details of the supplier, the duration of this non-medical helper support, and the amount that the funding body will pay the supplier. To access your non-medical helper support, you should contact the supplier using their contact details to let them know that you would like to arrange your support. Once the initial contact has been made, you can then discuss availability and any other arrangements needed to access your non-medical helper support. If you are entitled to any non-medical helper support where the supplier is the University of Huddersfield, you can get in touch with or look out for emails from the Learning Support team at learning.support@hud.ac.uk. If you are entitled to assistive software training and the supplier is the University of Huddersfield, you can get in touch with or look out for emails from HudStudy at hudstudy@hud.ac.uk. It is important that you access this training as soon as possible in order to get the most out of your support. Next, we will look at the General Allowance section of your DSA 2 entitlement letter. which will tell you the item details and the amount of money that is available to you for these items of support. So, you will need to purchase any items listed, then submit your reimbursement claims along with copies of your receipts to the funding body, and the funding body will reimburse the amount directly to your bank account once the claim has been processed. If you are entitled to help with printing and/or photocopying costs, you will need to submit your receipts of any printing and/or photocopying that you do to the funding body in order to be reimbursed for the costs. The university library can issue you with a printout of your printing history which can act as a receipt. Next, if you are entitled to help with travel costs, you will pay what the equivalent public transport cost of your journey is, and the funding body will pay the rest. If you are using taxis, you will see the following on your DSA 2 entitlement letter. Travel agreed between, which will tell you the agreed journey between your home or accommodation and the university. The number of journeys per year, which may be single journeys or return journeys. What the full cost of the taxi journey is. The equivalent public transport cost of the journey, which is how much you will need to pay. And the amount that the funding body will pay towards the cost of the journey. Depending on the number of journeys or your funding body, you may need to do one of the following to arrange the taxi travel costs. You may need to contact a licensed local taxi firm asking them to set up an account with the funding body. They can then claim back the DSA contribution to the cost of the journeys directly from the funding body. You will need to arrange how to pay your contribution for each taxi journey directly to the taxi company. Or you may need to keep your receipts for each journey and send them to the funding body who will reimburse you for the amount agreed for each journey. If you are using your own vehicle, the funding body will pay a set cost per mile of your journey, which you will be reimbursed for minus the cost of the equivalent public transport journey. A detailed breakdown of the costs and how to claim back these costs will be specified on your DSA 2 entitlement letter. To find out more about DSA, take a look at the rest of the information on the step-by-step guide. And if you need any further assistance, please reach out to Disability Services at disability@hud.ac.uk.